So you would withdraw from
Absolutely.
NATO? If you were a government, you would just cut the links with NATO and the red. All right, well...
I mean, let me be clear on this. We as a party haven't established that as a policy. We haven't answered those particular questions.
Right.
I have to be clear on that. But I would think, given the general tenor of what the attitude mostly of the party members are, or is, it would likely go that way. But I mean, that is in actual clear written policy. We haven't addressed that specifically. We haven't a written policy statement on it.
Of NATO and the red. No. All right.
No red. No, go ahead.
Well, NATO and the red, they're very similar. Okay, another very
it's all part of it. Anyway, it's enough on that point, yeah.
Another important issue in your party is the trade agreement. And I remember you campaigning on that issue.
We love trade. We just don't like the deception about the use of the word trade. Because these agreements are not about trade.
Not about trade, but about investment. All right.
Not even investment. It's a bit beyond that. They're about enslavement of humanity in the hands of a few.
Okay. So one of the questions on trade regulations is the North American Security and Prosperity Partnership. And I don't know if you want to read some of the answers there and see if you like one of them or if you want to add another one.
Well, that's a pretty strong position on this. It's a classic something for us. North American Security and Prosperity Partnership. I reject NASPP as an initiative which transfers government responsibility to business appointees. Canada should join the United States of America. Don't have enough information. I fully support the North American Security and Prosperity Partnership. We should attend negotiation to learn about NASPP. Well, a Canadian Action Party is clearly even going deeper than you have in your very first question. I'm glad to see 93% of the respondents have said they reject the North American Security and Prosperity Partnership. And this says state transfers government responsibilities to business appointees. It's not even business. It's not only business appointees. Maybe this doesn't matter because the question is, do you support this? We don't support the Security and Prosperity Partnership Agreement. We say it's absolutely got to be stopped. It's not just a transfer of government responsibility to business appointees. It's also the transfer to bureaucracy, to an administration system that serves a corporate elite.
So your vote would be on the first one or on the second?
On the first one. Well, the second one is Canada join the U.S. of America. No way.
Okay. A similar question, I think there's another one.
Yep,
is
NAFTA.
About NAFTA. And I think the choices there are about withdrawing from NAFTA or say submit notice.
This isn't even strong enough to suit us. Because your first question is, I would submit notice of cancellation as soon as possible. Well, what does that mean, ASAP? We say now, do it now, immediately. Your next question is, I'd like to review some of the chapters. No, I'm happy with their achievements. No, I don't know, and certainly I do know. It's absolutely imperative that we withdraw from FTA and NAFTA. It's very clear. Some of the leading proponents of the Security and Prosperity Partnership Agreement, the big guys behind the scenes, have stated in writing that NAFTA and the FTA were the groundwork, were the beginnings of the Security and Prosperity Partnership integration of North America, totally. And it was a guise to pretend we're doing this for trade and it's going to be a good thing. You can't say I want out of the integration of North America under what's happening with the Security and Prosperity Partnership Agreement and at the same time say we're going to stay in NAFTA or we're going to renegotiate or we're going to get out, cancel it now as the Greens say and then go back in. You can't, because the model is the same. The principle of the FTA and the principle of NAFTA are the same as the SPP, and that principle is the ultimate integration of North America as a power base on the move forward to dominance of the world. And it means the serfdom for people.
So on this
can't be half pregnant.
And this question, which one would you would choose, or would you add another one?
I would have to add another one because I'd say cancel it now, not as soon as possible. Your best one you've got is as soon as possible, and I say cancel it now.
Okay.
Right now.
So if it's
cancel it yesterday.
I would submit. Yeah, but you would have to first be elected.
6 months. You give the notice, 6 months notice. That's what's in there. The documents, both of those documents.
Last question.
Yes.
There is another federal party called the Canadian Action Party, and one of their main platforms is their opposition to the SPP and NAFTA and all that. Where is the Communist Party stand in that regard with free trade?
Oh, well, I mean, we oppose the NAFTA agreement, the Canada-U.S. agreement, and then the NAFTA agreement. We were in Ottawa last July in the big mobilizations against the SPP, or I guess early August. I was the beginning of August. Anyway, we've been on record in terms of that. Now, of course, the Canadian Action Party. We have a lot of common ground with the Canadian Action Party, but the Canadian Action Party is basically kind of a nationalist party. Paul Hellyer is not a socialist; he's a former liberal. I guess the big difference is that we approach the question of sovereignty not from the point of view of being Canadian nationalists. We approach the question of Canadian sovereignty from two lines. One is that it's U.S. imperialism, which is the biggest danger to peace in this world and to the welfare of the peoples of Latin America and the Middle East and Africa and so on and so forth. And their incorporation of Canada will further strengthen U.S. imperialism. And so we support Canadian sovereignty because of its anti-imperialist content. Because the incorporation of Canada will actually further strengthen U.S. imperialism. And secondly, because it's a democratic question. People, if they lose their sovereignty, then they lose one of the most important democratic rights, and that's the right to choose their own future. Right?
So you're saying that you would call for abrogation of the NAFTA?
Yes.
treaty?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
All right. We have another question here about free trade agreements, specifically FTA and NAFTA. And we have a few answers here, and maybe you can give us some of your choice or one of your choices here.
Well, with your permission, I'd like to say that I believe I would submit notice of cancellation as soon as possible from FTA and NAFTA. I'm quite sure that the spirit in which these agreements were put together is entirely destructive to Canada's sovereignty and to our economy, and I don't think that it's good for the residents of the nation at all. Mm-hmm. Nor is it probably good to a lot of Americans, really, individually.
All right. So you don't think we could just review a few chapters and maybe salvage it?
I don't see a point to salvaging it. I'm sure that if there was a new agreement created, or if there were some new, obviously, trade gets conducted across national borders. How does that trade get facilitated? Obviously, there are resources being shared and being used by both nations from the other. I'm not a trade minister, so I'm not exactly sure what all the details of that are. But I do know that the entire reason for the fabrication of the North American Free Trade Agreement was for the purpose of the profit of the corporations that facilitated it, not for the people that are residents of the nations.
All right, so your choice is number one. Would like to submit notice of cancellation as soon as possible. Actually, your party leader said that she wasn't happy to have it as soon as possible, and she would prefer immediately. Those were her words.
Okay.
But this is close enough, and I think she chose this one too. There is another issue in our nowpolling.ca, and it's about temporary workers. It's about immigration, and because of tar sands and because of shortage of labor, they are bringing temporary laborers, very similar to other countries like Saudi Arabia or Israel, where workers come in and work. Even in the States, Mexicans come in and work temporarily, but they are not equal to the rest of the citizens. Canada is going in the same direction. What do you think about that, and which would be your answer here in this topic?
Foreign workers should be processed as regular immigrants, otherwise Canada is exploiting needy immigrants, definitely. Don't know, I do know. This immigration permit is good for local business and for guest workers. Not good. So I would answer number one.
the soldiers that are coming from the United States is another topic that a lot of people which has attended a rally, and there's military conscious objectors and political persecuted individuals should, and we have quite a few answers there. I don't know if you want to read that last one and see if we can come up with something.
Yeah, be allowed to enter Canada to apply for refugee status, be welcomed and unconditionally processed as immigrants, be denied access to Canada and sent back to their country. Anyone trying to escape political persecution, that one doesn't seem to make, I don't understand the language of that one. Don't know in the next one. Be granted temporary residence until it is safe to return their home and be reevaluated every 2 years.
What would be our response to the refugees that come from the United States running away from the army, the conscious objectors that don't want to go and kill people in Iraq?
All right. If Canada truly believes in peacekeeping, if Canadians truly believe that it's important to have peace and to be leaders for this nation, to be leaders around the world, to move for peace, then the first thing we have to do is to say people who are trying to escape punishment for trying to be peacekeepers, that we have a duty to accept those people, to take them in, to work with them, and to encourage their participation in this country as peacekeepers. It's simple as that, it seems to me.
To be accepted as immigrants?
Yes. If someone is likely to be killed or tortured, we don't send them back. Mm-hmm. And in the United States right now, what happens to their people?
They're probably jailed. I don't know if necessarily torture or killed.
Yeah, when the United States has got a government that sanctions torture everywhere, and they've got structures right now of things that they're going to do with their own citizens, I mean, it's a pretty bad time. And then we've got a Canada who's bought in, tied us totally to their tail. That means we're going to apply those same rules here. So the people have got to get busy back in our own homes and put into place perpetual democracy. Similarly, a leader's job is to facilitate the growth of that kind of resource development in its people, in its leaders. Its leaders are the candidates. It's leadership, the people who are standing forward to work and to make something run. And ultimately, there sometimes has to be the buck finally stops here, and there are those mechanisms that can be in place. But you have to have a system where there is the mechanism of recall in the party as much as there is in the larger society, and the leader has to be supported, the leader has to be respected, the leader has to have people working with them, otherwise the leader is going to be dysfunctional. That's you have to have that, but at the same time that doesn't mean that the leader has to be free from change, from challenge, from responsibility, and from recall. It's a complicated building that you have. My job is not to solve all the problems of the world. I'm just a human being. I'm just one person, okay? I have certain skills. There are lots of other people that have. My job is to be setting the stage, facilitating the opportunity for people to work together and to make something good happen. And I'll be here today, I'll be gone tomorrow, someone else will be there. And the important thing is that there's a constant flow of new energy that's rebuilding itself from down below, but that's rejuvenating itself and moving forward, but always subject to positive change.
Okay, well, Connie, thank you very much for your time.